All right, let us get started. So, you're here because you want to create a clutter-free home. You're probably finding that you are always tidying up because there's always stuff everywhere. And you can't find things that you know you had 5 minutes ago, and that causes you stress. Oh, I have someone from Cornwall, Ontario, Canada with us. Welcome. It's really good to have you. So, cluttered homes causing us stress. So what I'm going to help you with today, if you stay with me, what we're going to do is we're going to reduce our clutter. I'm going to help you to simplify your tidying up, and I'm going to help you to achieve more in less time. All right? So how will it work? All right, it's me, myself, and I at the moment. So I am obviously doing the presenting, and I'm also monitoring the chat. So forgive me if I get a little bit stumbled or tangled up anywhere along the way, because I'm trying to do both of those things, but I will try my very best to make it all work. All right, a little bit of a warning for you. I tend to talk fast, and as you will have noticed, I have an accent. I am from Australia, and hence it being 9 o'clock in the morning here for me. Now, I do tend to use some words that are different to, other places. So for example, I talk about a wardrobe. Some people talk about a closet. I talk about bench tops. Other people talk about countertops. I talk about the boot of the car. Other people call it the trunk, that sort of thing. So I do tend to talk fast, bit of an accent, and use different words. So hopefully I don't tangle you up there when you're thinking, what was it that she said? I am trying to work on the talking fast thing, but there's lots to say, and I don't want you to miss out on anything. All right, so here's what we are going to cover today. We're going to look at how to reduce the clutter in our home. So the first step to faster success, that's what we're going to look at. And then we're going to cover the #1 decluttering accelerator. All right, does that sound good? Give me a yes in the chat or a thumbs up if you're ready to get going and get stuck in. All right, so there's no way I can tell you everything about decluttering today. There's just far too much to cover, but we're going to cover those 2 important basics. And in about 30 minutes, I'll show you where you can get some more help. All right. Now, remember, I promised you a free decluttering checklist, so stick around. So as your bonus for showing up live in this training, I will give you that link to grab that checklist at the end. So make sure you hang around. All right, so what is holding you back from making a change? When I think about where my decluttering journey started, it all started with a bushwalk with my son. Or, truth be told, a bushwalk that didn't happen with my son. So every day we used to put the baby to sleep, and I live on a small property, a couple of acres. So we'd put the baby to sleep, he'd grab his hat and his gumboots, and off we'd go outside for a bushwalk. It was our routine. But this particular day, I'd sort of got stuck into sorting out the mess in the spare room, you know, the place where you chuck all the stuff so that people can't see it when they come over to visit. And put the baby to bed, and, I was trying to sort out this stuff, and he was standing there in the doorway. He said, I'm ready for a bushwalk, Mum. And I just said, no, well, I'm sorry, can't do that at the moment. Just going to mute you there, Sally, sorry. We could hear your music. All right, so we were going where he was hoping to go on that bushwalk. Sorry about that. And I said, no, look, I'm afraid I can't go on that bushwalk because I'm too busy sorting out the spare room. And it wasn't until later that I thought, oh, that was just so awful. You know, it was almost like the beginning of the end of our bushwalks, you know, because we had a routine that we were doing those things, and we stopped because the clutter got in the way. And I thought, right, never again will clutter get in the way of my family. So that was the catalyst for my making a change. So let's move on. You want more time with your family. You want less stress. You want a quick and easy cleaning routine. You want less time wasted looking for stuff. And you want a clutter-free space to enjoy. Type yes in the chat if that is something that you would really like to achieve. Now, what we don't want those missing car keys and having to hunt for those all the time. We don't want no time to enjoy our home. We don't want to turn our visitors away because we're embarrassed about what they might see. And we don't want the stress that the clutter creates. Did you know that there are some studies on stress and clutter? So research from a 2009 study out of UCLA has shown that the amount of stress women experience at home is directly proportional to the amount of stuff they and their family had accumulated. That's quite interesting, isn't it? And then another study from 2016 discovered that stress triggered by clutter may also trigger coping and avoidance strategies like eating junk food, oversleeping, or binging on Netflix. And that is definitely not something that we want. All right, so what is the first step to decluttering success? All right, so one of the major problems is that we simply have too much stuff coming in to our houses. So when people want to declutter, they quite often put the cart before the horse. So they're trying to get rid of stuff that they already have without actually closing the door to new stuff coming in. All right? So I want you to remember this. You will succeed faster if you change your purchasing habits. I'll say it again. You will succeed faster if you change your purchasing habits. It is the number one most important tip to decluttering. And the Washington Post agrees. They say that decluttering only helps so much if you're still buying too much in the first place. So Nicole Anzia says that people who declutter will be back in the same spot months later if they don't fundamentally change their behaviour in terms of what comes into their homes. So it does not really matter how much decluttering we do if we don't reduce the amount of things that come into our house. It's essentially 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And that was my problem initially. On the left, you will see my study cupboard. Look at that. That was the sort of thing that I was trying to sort out when my son was saying, "Mum, I'm ready for our bushwalk." And part of my problem was that I really quite enjoyed shopping. I love thrift shops, op shops, that kind of thing, where you can go and find a bargain for $1. And I used to do that. And also I used to have some wonderful friends and family who used to give me things. And you know, when I was a single woman and I moved to the country for my teaching job and I needed to furnish a house and have everything that went with it, that was good. People offering me things. Oh, like this crock pot. I thought you might like to use that. But, you know, and that was fine for a little while. But after a while, it got to the point where too much stuff was coming in. And I needed to start getting rid of stuff. And I had to learn to say thank you, but no thank you to the people who were generously offering me things. And my mother was probably the worst culprit. So I had to teach her that sometimes I would say no to things. So that was a really important thing to do. So remember, you will succeed faster if you change your purchasing habits. All right, so maybe that is you. Maybe you have been bringing too many things in and you haven't been allowing yourself to get rid of things because you're constantly adding. So let's put that in the past. We are going to look to the future now. We're going to say stop. We're going to draw a line in the sand and we're going to think about how we can make a change for the better. All right. Are there any questions? Type your question in the chat for me. If you have any questions about closing the door to new stuff, any struggles that you have you tried this before? What blockers have you encountered? If you have a question, ask that in the chat now. If you don't have a question, you might like to check out the Clutter-Free Life community information. There's a little short link up there, bit.ly/CFL community, so Clutter-Free Life community. And by attending today's webinar, you will actually receive 14 days free. There's a little code there, webinar 14 with a capital W, to put in checkout if that's something that you want to take access to. So any questions? I'm just looking to see if anyone has any questions about that last section, about stopping those things from coming in. That is the number one important point. All right, let me have a little look. Lost my mouse. Sorry there. Yes, so we've got Sally saying, I just want it to go to a good home and it's hard to let go. Yes, it is tricky, isn't it? Because you think, there's this fabulous thing that I have. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't want to throw it out. I really, and I certainly know in our family, we're trying to, care for the environment and not be wasteful. And it can really be difficult because we think, this is something good. I don't want to waste it. I don't want to throw it out. And then, of course, yes, what if I need it someday? That is so, so hard. There are a couple of questions, though, that you can ask yourself. How easy would it be to replace that thing if you do suddenly discover that you need it? Could you just nip out to the shop and buy another one? If you could, then you could let that go right now. That would be fine. And another problem that happens when we say, what if I need it someday, is that quite often when that day comes, you can't find it. It's in a cupboard somewhere. It's there. You've seen it recently. But when you actually need it, you can't find it because there's too much stuff around. So sometimes that's a little bit of a false promise in a way, because you've kept it because you needed it. And then you needed to go and buy a new one anyway. I had a friend whose house was so badly cluttered, 4 children, doing renovations, had to move everything out of the upstairs. And the son was going on a camp with swimming and he needed his swimmers. And the day before the camp, they had to go and buy new swimmers. They knew that they had some in the house. They'd only recently seen them, but they couldn't for the life of them find them because they just had too much stuff and nothing had a home. So I suggest that you very carefully think about that, what if I need it someday question, because it might be that when you actually need it, you can't find it. All right, let us move on. We are going to look at the second step. What is the next important thing? All right, we need to remove distractions. So let me give you an example. So let's say I'm going to start decluttering and I'm going to start in the family room. All right, so I spend a couple of minutes in the family room and I discover, my son has left his shoes in here. So I'm just going to pop them down to his bedroom. Now, while I'm there, I notice that his bed's not made. So I quickly make his bed and then there's a bit of dust on the floor. So I'll do a quick vacuum and think, okay, I'm decluttering. So I go back to the family room, and in the family room, I find a dirty sock and I take that to the laundry. While I'm there, a load of laundry needs to go on. So I put a load of laundry on. All right, I'm meant to be decluttering. So back to the family room I go. You can see what's happening, can't you? All of a sudden, you're thinking to yourself, well, I have been decluttering all morning and I have achieved nothing. It doesn't look like I've done anything. I'm worn out from all this decluttering stuff and it was a waste of time. Didn't do anything. And then you get into that, why bother? What was the point? I did all that work and I achieved nothing. Well, what the problem was that you've done lots of stuff. but you haven't actually done the stuff that you needed to do. And really, in reality, you've probably only spent about 10 minutes actually decluttering. You didn't stick to that task and get that task done. So, something to remember. You will succeed faster if you focus on one area at a time. So if you're flitting from room to room, you will find that is a really big mistake to make when you are trying to declutter. What you actually want to do is you actually want to create a snowball effect. You want to work in one space until it is done. And I have a little bit of an example here for you. So this is the Power of Lentils. I've also used rice. This will become clear in a minute. So think of these cups of lentils as your clutter hotspots in your house. So one might be the kitchen, one might be the bathroom, one might be the bedroom, one might be the family room. And we need to declutter all of these spaces. All right, so let me show you 2 ways of doing it. Let's look at the left side of the screen first. So what we've done on the left is we've decluttered a little bit in each space. And we've achieved a fair bit. We've done a little bit in the kitchen, and we've done a little bit in the bathroom, we've done a little bit in the bedroom, we've done a little bit in the family room. And you can see in the bigger container there, that's how much clutter we have removed. But when we stand in our kitchen, it doesn't really look like we've done anything much, to be honest. When we stand in our bedroom, it doesn't really look like we've done much there either. And it can be very easy to become disheartened and to think, well, that wasn't really worth it. Whereas if you look over onto the right-hand side over here, we've spent the same amount of time, but we've done it in the one space right here, in this space. So this might be our kitchen. And we've achieved the same amount over here, but it's clearly visible in this one space in our kitchen. So remembering that on the left here, we've done all of this decluttering, but we haven't really achieved anything. Whereas on the right, we've still done all of this decluttering, but look at our kitchen. We can stand in our kitchen and we can say, wow, I have really made an impact here. And this is what we want to achieve. All right, so one of our members also had this problem. Patricia was finding this really, really, really difficult to do. She found it so hard to focus on one task. She was constantly worried about all the other things on her to-do list. It took a little while, but she slowly changed her practices because she realized she wasn't achieving anything faster by jumping from task to task. And in fact, science actually backs that up. Science actually tells us that multitasking is a myth. We actually can only focus on one thing at a time, but then we have to change our thinking to think about that one thing, and then we flip over to the next thing and we flip back to the next thing. And it's actually a very inefficient way of doing stuff. So by focusing on the one thing until it's done, we create momentum and a sense of achievement. And Patricia has found that this has happened. It's encouraged her to tackle more hotspots in her home because she can now see the benefits of all of her work. She can see the effort that she's putting in is actually making a difference. So I want you to stop making everything so hard for yourself. I want you to pick a room and I want you to stay there. I want you to stay there on the day that you're decluttering it and stop running around, taking things back to other places in the house and getting distracted. I want you to stay in that room. It doesn't matter how long you spend decluttering. You might only spend 15 minutes, but in that 15 minutes, you are not allowed to leave that room. Take some bags or boxes in with you. Have one for rubbish, one for relocating around the house, and one for donating. Put the things in those boxes that don't belong in that room, and then when you're done, you can go and take them off to other spaces, because then you'll have time to quickly throw a load of laundry on and then quickly make that bed and do whatever it is you need to do, and you won't have derailed your decluttering. All right, so I want you to stay in the room. Remember that you will succeed faster if you focus on one area at a time. All right, does anyone have any questions about staying in the room? Is this something that you're finding difficult to do? Does that idea help you a little bit? Is that something that you hadn't considered before? Pop your questions in the chat and I will answer some of those. Just give a couple of seconds for people to pop something in. Welcome, glad to see we've got a couple of new people joining us. I'm just asking if anyone has any questions about the last section that we were talking about when I was saying to stay in the room. And if you wanted to go and check out the Clutter-Free Life community, there is a little short link for you there, so you can go and have a look. All right, I'm going to move on and we're going to just recap some of the things that I've been talking about today. So the number one most important thing that you need to do when you are wanting to declutter is focus on reducing your purchases. It doesn't have to be something that you're buying with money either. Just focus on bringing less into the house. Remember, we don't want to have that 2 steps forward, 1 step back problem. And then you need to stay in the room. Don't try this multitasking thing. Stay in the room, get that job done. All right, remember to stay to the end and you will receive your bonus checklist that is coming. All right, I really have so much more to tell you. There's just not time to go through everything today, but I have covered 2 of the most important things that you need to know. Now, where can you get some more help? You can get some help inside the Clutter-Free Life membership community. Inside the community, you're going to find accountability, motivation and training. I show you exactly what you need to do next in order to create your clutter-free life. Now this little link here takes you straight to the opt-in page, and for attending live you actually have access to 14 days free membership to get in there and check everything out and see if it works for you. I'm just going to show you where to put that little discount code. So this is a bit of a screenshot of what the membership looks like. There are 3 levels. This will work for any of the levels, the monthly, the quarterly or the annual. If you pop down to the bottom there and put webinar 14, all one word with a capital W. There's also this little spot here. If for some reason that bit at the bottom does not show up for you, put that in and then it will show you that it is $0 initially, and then after your 14 days will be your first payment. All right, so we have had some new members recently. We have Angela, Jody, Marichka and Nikki. And when you join them, you will be able to see a lot of things in the community. Now, this is a compilation screenshot. It's not as cluttered as this inside the community. So I don't want you to think, my goodness, this is a community about decluttering and it's so cluttered, I don't know where to start. But I wanted to show you the many things that are in the community for you to access. So let's have a little look inside. We have our community forums. We have our member Q&A training. Regular video training and live Zoom training is stored in there for people to access. We also have our weekly challenges. They go up every Sunday for something for you to focus on during the week ahead if you're not quite sure where to go next. We also have our discussions where you can ask a question, you can share some tips that you have come up with yourself or you wanting some information. And we also have our action plans so that you can tell us what you're going to work on this week and we can help you to be accountable to keep that going. So our weekly challenges, you will see them all here. And you have access to any of those at any time, so you can jump in and grab one. You can do a couple a week if you want to. Nothing stopping you from doing that at all. Here's our Q&A training. We've just recently finished an 8-week challenge, but you can go and start week 1. You can start that straight away. You can watch the training, you can do the tasks, and then you can move on to week 2 when you are ready. So that's in there waiting for you. We also have the Clutter-Free Home Blueprint. Step 1, very important, creating your vision and knowing your why. This is where I always encourage people to begin. Very important information for you to work out for yourself. And then a whole series of steps for you to take in order to create that clutter-free home. All right, so remember, you can jump in, use that webinar 14, and you can access the community for free for 2 whole weeks.